Hi everyone, welcome to the February webinar. We actually held this webinar yesterday, and Susan and I, sometimes being the folks that we are, we actually forgot to record, so I am going to re-record this webinar for y'all so you can hear the same information. If you have any questions in reference to anything that's been presented, please feel free to reach out to either Susan or I, and we'll go ahead and obviously answer any questions. So today we're going to go over some planning for some reevals and annuals. We're going to review our face-to-face meeting that we held in January. We're going to look at our determination survey results, and our high leverage practice this month is data-driven decision making. And then we also, as always, have a few little informational additional tidbits for you. So let's first talk about planning reevals and annuals. As most of you remember, we've talked about this before, but our best practice is to plan ahead and begin scheduling for any annuals that are coming up and due in the fall. What we don't want to have you have to face is having students move in and transfers at the start of the school year on top of also trying to schedule annual reviews and reevaluations. So we strongly recommend that any reevaluations that are due on or before November 1st, I would go ahead and get those scheduled prior to the end of this school year, as well as any annuals that are due on or before October 1st. So you want to make sure you have enough time for the reevaluations if the team actually decides to test. We had quite a bit of testing over the summer. We ran into some timeline issues. So please be very diligent about scheduling those with your psychologist. Make sure you're keeping up with them, and that we don't have situations where evaluations don't occur over the summer because we can't get a hold of anybody. So make sure you're diligent about those. And then annuals, of course, we want to have done so you don't have to face them at the beginning of the year. We recommend you don't schedule them for February, but you can go ahead and start scheduling them for March and April and start knocking those out so you're well prepared for the beginning of the school year. So as you recall, a few weeks ago we had our face-to-face meeting and we did ask for some feedback. So one of the things Susan and I thought was important, that not just getting the feedback, but also sharing with you the results of that feedback. So overall, about 81% responded to the survey, and about 69% of you were very satisfied, and only 27% were somewhat satisfied. The interest in our session was very high, and its effectiveness was very high. It really must have been that fabulous slideshow that we showed you all. We were very proud of that, and we hope that you are learning how to refocus and re-energize as well. Our Coaching to Grow session held by Emily Baker, we had almost 40% that thought it was very high, 20% that thought it was high. The effectiveness, again, about 46% were very high, 23% high. So it seems like from the feedback, you all found these sessions to be helpful. And then the one that we had, the co-teaching that we had run by the State Department, again, overall, it's about half that thought it was either very high or high. So we're pleased to see those results, that you all found it interesting and very important and interesting. So we will continue to do things like that since it appears to be effective and well-liked by everybody. So the general conclusion about our feedback is that you all are asking for some more technical assistance in the areas of PWNs, FBA and BIPs, best practices, co-teaching, effective implementation of co-teaching, and co-teaching approaches. So as we start to plan things for the remainder of this year and this summer and moving forward into next year, we'll certainly look into those to provide more training. And then, of course, relaying our information, our website or department meetings, communicating through administration and department training, and then communication. So again, we'll make sure we communicate with everybody, including your admins, about relaying this training information to help assist you with getting it out to other folks in your building. The other survey we have going on was the LEA determination survey results. We only had about 69% response, which was somewhat surprising since we asked people to fill it out there, but it is what it is. So overall, for the live binder or the performance gaps that we placed on the website, for the most part, people are accessing it. The frequency of access, we have only about 9% that are never accessing it, And that may just be that you don't need it. You feel that everything in your building is going fine. You don't need those resources. And between 2 and 4, we've got, between 40 and 5% accessing. If there's something you see that you need or it's not user-friendly, please let us know. Obviously, we want to try and get these numbers up. We put that information out there for you all to share, to utilize. If it's not helpful, we need to know that. If it is helpful, but it's hard to access or you're not sure, please let us know through that feedback that we have on the home page in terms of feedback on the web page itself. The most valuable section of the page that we found through your feedback was the reading comprehension and fluency. Behavior management was also a big area, and then our explicit instruction. So those that are accessing are finding what's on there very useful. Most buildings use the information in staff trainings, which is great. That's why we put it out there. You all can use it as you would like. The frequency of using the materials, again, about 50% of you are using them somewhat often. And the general interest is about there that, between 40 and 30% are finding it interesting and of use. Again, if it's not, please let us know. We can't make it better and help you further and support you if we don't hear from you. Some other survey results. So the other one we asked for was about technical assistance for our students with disabilities. So participation in monthly webinars. Most of you are participating, which is great. So either participating them when we do them or watching them like this as recording that are posted. That's why we do it. The interest in the webinars, again, you all are finding them interesting. The engaging of implementation, we're all doing. So some of the barriers that we noted or that you all noted to utilizing and accessing the training are scheduling, general education teacher involvement, the skill level of the staff, perhaps your school culture, your staff buy-in, and some difficulty with schools or other folks in your building viewing behavior as important as academics. We understand those barriers. That's why we put this information out to help support you when you're training your own buildings. Most of you, at least just about half of you, do provide training in your own buildings, which is great. That's why we train you and give you these resources to use. Some of the things you've already done have been study skills, evidence-based curriculum, explicit instruction, behavior. And if you do any trainings, we would love for you to share with Susan and I your PowerPoints, your resources, or what you're doing, not because we want to, critique you or evaluate you on it, but it is always great to see what other folks are doing that we could potentially share with everyone else so everyone's not recreating the wheel. The other thing is if you're doing a great PD and you want one of us to come and just watch and just, be there maybe as support or just to watch because you're really excited about it, please let us know. We're happy to come do things like that. We love to see you guys in action in what you're doing, and we certainly can support you even if you're planning a training, you're not sure what to use or need some help or advice. Please always reach out to us. Again, some training and information you're also looking for as maybe some ideas on curriculum, some training for general ed on inclusion. There's a special interest in orthopedic impairments or low incidence students population. We're seeing more and more of students in a low incidence population entering and enrolling in our schools. You're asking for transition, instruction, and some virtual models. So even though we have a lot of brick and mortar schools, you all are starting to get into some virtual things, especially when looking at like snow day makeups or hurricane makeup. So we understand and realize that some of our schools are starting to access that type of model. So you would like some information. Some testing strategies, organization and study skills, data collection, so you all can see those. So again, as we continue to plan our trainings, we certainly will take all of this into account and try and plan topics around these things. Keep in mind, too, your SPED Connection resource that you have is a great resource for some of the case law you're asking about, some ideas for things with general education teachers. So make sure you're checking that site. There's lots of resources there as well that you can utilize with your staff as well. So in terms of the actual LEA action plans that you've created, so overall, about 40 to 30% of you are making very nice progress on your plan. Most of everybody in your school is engaged in the plan. The role that you all are playing is the main role is communication to the building leader. You're also an active participant in building PD, and you're an indirect participant in some of that PD. So most of all, it's through communication that you all are working through this plan. The frequency of the building plan, the training, or discussing improving the outcomes. Some are saying, 9% are saying, hey, we never meet and talk about this. There are some teams that are meeting weekly and some teams that are meeting monthly. Quarterly seems to be the biggest population, which is fine. You don't have to meet every week. You don't have to meet, every couple days. But we do, at least quarterly. It would be great if you, as your LEA determination team, come together and look at where you're at with the progress on your students with disabilities. And again, as always, there's some barriers. You all are facing some time issues, priorities, money, staff participation, teacher knowledge skills, and in some cases, administrative support. So again, if we can help or assist with any of those, please feel free to reach out to one of us. So as you know, we always do a high leverage practice each month. So this month, we're going to be talking about data-driven decision making, right? It's all about the data. So that is that established system of data collection targeting those specific needs. So think about what your system of collection looks like. What is your way that you gather progress monitoring? What points do you use? What tools do you use? Remember that data must be measurable and observable, so clearly defined. So using things like teacher observation, although, we see a lot still, it's very subjective and it's not measurable. So let's try and move away from things like teacher observation and look more to actual things that give us some data. You're continuing to monitor the progress in those targeted areas, and you're communicating those to the stakeholders, right? So we want to make sure that general ed teachers are understanding how the students are moving along with their progress monitoring on IEP goals. So really the point is, what is it and how do we get it? So data can come from multiple sources. You have things like AIMSweb, you have things like iReady, you have pre and post assessments. Those are all things, tools that can be used in terms of collecting data. We use those data to make our decisions, right? We don't use subjective things in terms of making decisions in terms of our students and our instruction. It should all be data-driven, based on the data, based on how their students are performing in all settings. We should have high expectations and rigor, and we should have knowledge of the standards. Now, we certainly don't expect you to be knowledgeable in every standard for every grade level. We realize some of you are a one-man show, and that's going to be virtually impossible for you to know every grade level, every standard, all the time. But you do want to be able to have access and know where to find those, so you're understanding where these children should be based on the general ed population and how you can best get them there. So, but again, we're using that data to make the decisions, not because, well, I think he's going to get to grade 2 by the end of this year. And we want to have that high rigor. So if we have a student, let's say, who's reading on a first grade level, we don't want our goal to be, we'll read to the end of a first grade level by the end of the year. That's not very high rigor. We have to have high expectations for our students. So Susan loves visuals. So here's a visual that she's created and placed in here in terms of how to really use that data and what to do, right? So the first thing is, obviously we're going to get that baseline data for our IEP. We're going to target those areas, those skills. We're going to identify our methods of collecting and measuring that progress. We're going to do ongoing data collection. It has to be done frequently. It could be done weekly. It could be done monthly. It could be done every 10 lessons. Again, that depends on the tool you're using. But collecting data should not be something that's done just at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. It should be something that's frequent and ongoing. Based on that data, we're going to determine what that specialized instruction looks like. So is it standards-based? We can adapt the curriculum we're currently using and that delivery of instruction. But again, it should be, our students with disabilities should be receiving specialized instruction. It should be different or more specialized than what they're receiving in the general education classroom. And then we use that data to make those decisions. So we're going to evaluate it to determine the programming. We may adjust IEPs, adjust how we're serving students based on the data, and we're going to make sure we inform everybody. So in terms of additional information, just reminders that the SEL window opens February 11th through March 29th. If you have questions, please reach out to Susan. She has taken over the alt testing for us this year and is a lot more informed about it than I am right now. So if you have questions about that, please directly reach out to her. The survey feedback on our SPED support will close at the end of the day today. Remember, it's voluntary. It went out in the operator's notes. If you would like to complete it, you can. If people in your building would like to complete it, they can. It's not required. We just use it for our own information, again, on how we can best continue to support you all. The other thing to share is this month's secret word, which happens to be diddly, such as, today Laura is tired and has decided to do diddly squat. Spelling does not count, but the secret word this month is diddly. So keep on doing those secret words. We're looking forward to buying some treats for those who are in the lead and winning. And if you have any questions, any thoughts, any feedback, or just want to tell us, hey, things are going great, always reach out to us. Ask away. We're here to help. Have a great day, everybody.